But there will come a day when the sun will shine again and bring a smile on every face. Together we'll win this race. So when you feel hope is gone,
Commemoration of World Day for Safety. My name is Wilfred Mluli, and I'll be your MC for today's festivities. I'll begin by welcoming everyone present here, including the Honorable Minister of Labour and Social Security, members of the Portfolio Committee, Principal Secretaries and their representative, employers and workers, Federation representatives, and of course our panelists who will be giving us an insight into the issues of Osh today, members of the Technical Committee on Occupational Health and Safety, TCOSH, government official, all media houses present here, and of course also warmly welcome those who are joining us in all the virtual platforms that we are broadcasting on today, that is YouTube and Facebook, and also those who are joining us live on our Swaziland television, Eswatini television. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start and proceed with today's program, it's custom that as Maswati, we open all our events with a word of prayer. So in that regard, I'll ask Mage Tutunzinisa to open our function with a word of prayer, then we can proceed with today's festivities.
Good morning, everyone. Shall we pray? Father God, we want to thank you once again, Siyabonga Nkosi, for this wonderful day that you have given unto us. Sibonga Nkosi, konke losendele kona lokuhle. We thank you for our families, in Sebending Nkosi, the workplaces, the safety that you have provided to us over the years. This Nkosi, even today, your wisdom, which is sufficient to make this function on Nkosi kusibe successful. Siyabonga for doing it again for us in the mighty.
Thank you very much, Mage Tutunzinisa, for the word of prayer. And now that we are officially opened our program, today we are here for the celebration of World Day for Safety and Health at Work. The theme for today, ladies and gentlemen, is act together to build a positive safety and health culture. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you, those who are present here with us at the Royal Villas in the physical event, and also welcome those who are joining us via virtual platforms for this important occasion where we are marking the safety of workers everywhere in the world. Maybe just to give a brief history of the day, that is April 28th. This day is commemorated by the International Labour Organization as an aim to promote the prevention of occupational accidents and diseases globally. So everywhere in the world, in this day, we have various government entities, trade unions, federation, employers, employees, having events similar to this one. Even ILO today has an event that is similar to this one. also trying to promote the issue of creating a safety and health culture in the organizations. Also, April 28 is also known as International Commemoration Day for the Dead and Injured Workers. That is usually organized worldwide by the trade union movement since 1996. So it is also a day where the trade union movement commemorates and also pays tribute to all the fallen workers and those who were injured whilst at work. So in 2003, that's when the International Labour Organization for safety and health at work. The focus of the ILO in terms of this day is to ensure that we promote the adoption of health and safety practices that will ensure that our workers are kept safe and also we do not cause injuries in the workplace. So basically the theme for today is act together to build a positive safety and health culture, which aims to explore the topic of participation and social a positive safety and health culture. So in today's program, we will have speeches from the Director of Social Security. We'll also have a speech from the employer's representative, and we'll also have a speech from the Ministry of Health representative, and also the workers' representatives. We will also have the opportunity to be addressed by an ILO representative who will be able to join us virtually through a recorded video. And we will then have a speech by the Honorable Minister who is here in our midst today. Then afterwards, ladies and gentlemen, that's when we will have a panel discussion where the various tripartite partners and stakeholders, including academia and Osh practitioners, will share insights in terms of how we can act together to build a positive health and safety culture. So without wasting most of your time, ladies and gentlemen, I will ask the Director of Social Security to please come and make his remarks, ladies and gentlemen. So let's welcome the Director as he comes to deliver his speech.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable members of portfolio committees, Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mluli has made my life easy. It's like and he said everything that I was going to say. Thank you very much, my brother. Like he said, today we are here gathered to celebrate the Osh Day. He has just said it all about Osh. Some of us here will wonder why Director of Social Security and Osh, what is the connection between the two? The two is, if you go to International Labour Organizations conventions, Convention 102, it talks about social security benefits. And one of the benefits is employment injury benefit. That is where the occupational safety and health falls, you know. The notion is that at workplace, we must prevent accidents from happening, and should they happen, we must treat, we must rehabilitate, compensate. Probably I'll touch to compensation later on. I've discussed it with some honorable members of parliament about this compensation issue as to what it entails and what is involved in it. Briefly, Osh is concerned with safety, health, and welfare of people that are in the workplace. The goal of Osh program is to prevent adverse effects in the workplace. The human cost due to work-related injuries and diseases is enormous. Hence, their prevention should be prioritized to relieve economic burden. The ministry is mandated to ensure the protection of workers from all economic sectors against any harm to their safety and health arising out of the work activities. Today, we are gathered here to help come up with strategies that will health in the country. The minister, the honorable minister today will share the programs government is embarking on in the improvement of the current Osh system. Your positive contribution is more than welcome as we carry on with our deliberations. I've mentioned the compensation aspect. It's a medical exercise. If you get injured on duty, the employer takes you to hospital where a doctor will treat you for whatever injury or diseases that we have acquired, probably for those who work in the mines or factories where they could acquire silicosis and everything. Then once you are treated, at the end probably it's up to 24 months, the doctor does what we call underwriting to determine the permanent disability that is a result of the injury. Sometimes, I was making an example, you can break your leg. Probably after 12 months, you heal completely. When the doctor underwrites you that, oh, we are back to normal, then you get 0%. So you'll find that some will come and say, but I got injured, I didn't get paid and all this stuff. It's a medical issue. My duty is to see whatever percentage that the doctor has given to any person who got injured or disease at work, if it complies with the regulations of the Workmen's Compensation Act. So that is how the Workmen's Compensation works, you see. Yes. We have also talked about occupational diseases. Or in fact, I meant to say, I mentioned that one. The issue of occupational safety and health is so important that, as I'm going to conclude that, I would also ask the members of the academia to consider including or reinforcing in the Osh discipline, because presently the strongest Osh school is in Italy, which is far away in Turin. And it is my sincere plea that the academia should consider having or reinforce in the Osh discipline. And probably I've been looking around, I couldn't find, and someone from the Ministry of Education, you know, if probably one day they would extend their curriculum to extend safety and health, probably starting from an elementary level. Because I remember when I used to school, when I used to go to school when we were young, there was a lesson which was called hygiene, you know. I don't know if it is still there. I think it would also assist to have such a discipline put in the curriculum. With those few remarks, I wish you a happy day, Osh Day, and I thank you.
Thank you, Director Makwabane Mdluli, my brother. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mdluli explained why the department the connection of health and safety with compensation in terms of the Workmen's Compensation Act. Most of the time we are, as in the industries and workers, we are trying by all means to make sure that as employers, workers do not get injured in our workplace, and as workers, we do not get injured. But there will be instances, of course, whereby there will be now an injury at the workplace. So the workman must be treated, rehabilitated, and where possible, then compensated. So that's where his remarks were based in terms of how there is the link between health and safety and social security in terms of also the ILO Convention C102. The next, I will then call upon the next speaker, which is going to be the employer's representatives, and the employer being to come and make the remarks on behalf of employers, Mr. Stelo Mashwama. And whilst Mr. Mashwama is coming up on stage, Mr. Mdluli made a plea to the education sector to make sure that they include into their curriculum Osh programs, that is our local institutions of higher learning, to strengthen their programs to broaden the health and safety knowledge base and expertise in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Mashwama to make his remarks on behalf of employers' organizations.
Honorable Minister, Principal Secretaries that we have amongst our midst, senior government officials, representatives from different businesses and entities, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As Mr. Mdluli has rightly introduced me, my name is Sicelo Mashwama. I will be making a brief presentation on this commemoration on behalf of Business Eswatini, whereas as employers we affiliate. So the presentation or speech that I'll be making will be a representation . I hope the team on the other side will be able to share the slide on the screen so that you are able to follow as I go through the presentation. Today for us as employers, it's a great day where we commemorate the World Day for Safety and Health at the Workplace. Much as this commemoration is a one-day thing, but the reality is that each and every day when every one of us wake up and go to work, there are safety critical areas that needs to be taken into consideration. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot overemphasize the effect of occupational ill health and occupational injuries, not just on productivity alone, but the expectation is that two of us woke up and went to work. The expectation from our families is that we should come back whole. No one should come back home with a a missing limb. No one should come back home in a stretcher. That's the expectation. So primarily, if you look at the issue of safety in the workplace, it extends beyond the workplace. Safety, the theme for this year, acting together to build a positive safety and health culture. We might be viewing it within the occupational scope, but the reality is that safety of our employees or workers extend beyond the workplace. Any ill health that occurs to our workers, even out of the workplace, is still it's still a concern to the employer. Let's make a quick example. You have this employer that you have developed, you've capacitated, you've trained. Out of the workplace, there is an injury that now makes that employee, that worker not capable. So look at the associated costs, look at how the productivity is affected. And if we actually zoom out and look at the national perspective, it actually does have a huge impact to the national growth and productivity of us as employers. So my presentation would be brief. I'll be zooming on the safety culture. As I've already highlighted the theme, acting together to build a positive safety and health culture. But now let's try to look into detail. When we talk about safety culture, how really does it fit in the picture? As organizations, how do we build a positive safety culture of preventing injuries within the workplace? A brief definition of a safety culture that I've taken, that I've extracted, it reads thus: a national occupational safety and healthy culture is one in which the right to is respected at all levels. The right to a safe and healthy working environment is respected. Today, by looking at a positive safety culture, we're looking at a scenario where governments, employers, and workers actively participate in securing a safe and healthy working environment through a system of defined rights, responsibilities, and duties, and where the highest priority is accorded to the principle of prevention. I'll make reference to one of our existing legal frameworks, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which highlights the responsibilities of the employer and the responsibilities of the employee as far as health and safety is concerned. So this summary here speaks to that actually a safety culture now is a culmination of operationalizing those requirements from such a piece of legislation. I'll share briefly the accident ratio triangle to just give us a perspective of how this applies. The reality is that in the workplace, accidents occur. We put measures in place, but accidents do occur. And when an accident, a fatal accident for that matter, finally occurs, this is how the reality looks like in a snapshot. Every time there have been 400 lost time injuries underneath that, it means that there were 20,000 minor injuries. It means that there were 240,000 near misses. It means that there were 2 million unsafe acts. So this picture gives us an idea for us as organization, when we report a fatality, that there has been a fatal incident. This is the reality of the situation underneath, that there is a lot of factors, there's a lot of activities, unsafe activities, minor injuries, near misses, some which are reported and some which may go unreported. So basically this picture, it gives us the reality of the situation in terms of how we need to come up with more preventive strategies, which should ideally be aiming at preventing injuries than reacting to injuries. Zooming further into safety, leadership, which is a key element of building a positive safety culture. Normally in the workplace, the expectation is the employer will take care of me. Yet when it comes to safety, safety is primarily an individual responsibility. Before it even becomes a collective responsibility at individual level, there is an expectation that each and every employee is expected to play a significant role in ensuring that their safety is prioritized. Number two, in ensuring that the safety of others we can into consideration. Defining safety leadership. Safety leadership is a process by which a person influences others to work safely. As Captain listening within our respective workplaces, if you ask who is responsible for safety in this organization, normally they'll point to an individual. Their own safety and those of others. So hence the term safety leadership, which tells us that safety leaders is actually all of us. A safety leader is not the CEO, it's not the manager, it's not the supervisor. Everyone who has been tasked with undertaking a certain role within an occupational space, by default they become a safety leader. The reason we're saying they become a safety leader is because they have a position, they automatically have the power of influencing others to work in a safe manner or in an unsafe manner. So it's all of us, safety leaders, directors, managers, supervisors, safety departments, safety reps, all of us, we are safety leaders within the respective positions that we hold in the work area. Previously, there have been terms relating to safety management. So what distinguishes the two is that with safety management, we do the requirements, let it be the requirements of the Act, the requirements of policies, safe and healthy policies in the workplace. We adhere to this because the systems tell us to do this. The employer says so. I fasten the seatbelt because batang bopa. So that's safety management. But now safety leadership, we do it in a given way because we have been motivated to do it that way, and we believe it is the right way to do it. So with safety leadership, it's beyond safety management. We work in a safe manner because we understand how working unsafe impacts the business, how it impacts us as individuals, how it impacts our families back at home. So in all this, communication plays a very key role. Where I've briefly highlighted the communication triangle, where within the workplace, normally what we say, workers take 7% of what you say. When you speak, when you give them an instruction that relates to safety, normally they listen to 7% of that. How you say it, it will account for 35%. So in essence, how you convey a message counts more than even the message itself, which means that more than just drafting a safety message, how you convey that message has actually got a bigger impact on the end users or the end. And at the bottom, how we appear, what we do, it actually counts far much better. Walking the talk. When it comes to safety leadership, what we do actually matters more than what we say to our employers. As safety leaders, the expectation is that we cannot be saying one thing on the other hand, but our actions depicting something different from that. So how we appear or what we do actually counts to a greater extent on how we shape the safety culture of our organizations. I've put through a model of culture just to illustrate how then as entities we can be able to map forward a positive safety culture. Normally, when we see incidents occurring in the workplace, those incidents is just what's visible, it's the behavior of our employees. But now the question is, underneath those behaviors, what motivates those behaviors? If an employee works in an unsafe manner, what is the motivation behind that act? So underneath the behavior, there are attitudes, perceptions, values, beliefs. Some of these extend even from outside of the work area. Kukhona nje labasebenta in an unsafe manner because nasikhula sisebenza kanjena vele. Mina tandla tami qinile, I don't need gloves. It's a culture, it's something that you grow up with. So those underlying circumstances play a bigger role in shaping the safety culture within our organizations. Saying I want to start changing the behaviors today, it's very difficult. But by walking the talk, that 58%, then we influence the behavior of others because through that their attitudes, values, and beliefs will change. So attitudes, values, and belief changes is actually the one that influences behavioral change. And high chances an attitude of an employee will change if they view or if they see another fellow employee working in a safe manner. So in that way, we are able to influence a positive safety culture. And workers, I've abstracted just a short definition of workers, 45,001, the 2018 version. It defines workers as a person for work-related activities that are under the control of the organization. In most instances, as organization, we outsource some work, we have subcontractors. So now with the new definition, even if we subcontract, the subcontracted employees are actually still classified as workers, which means if things go wrong, they still reflect on the organization because they are under the control of the organization. Coming to my final slide, in essence, this tells us that our leaders, safety leaders, have a role to play in determining the injury rate within our places. So the injury rates depend on the strength of the safety culture within any organization, and as leaders, we decide which direction this safety culture takes within the organization. And then on my final slide, just some indicators. If we are moving to the right direction, of course, we'd want to see certain indicators that will tell us if we are actually developing a positive safety culture within the organization. So ideally, if we are on the right path, we'd want to see near-miss reports increasing. So sometimes when we see Lama incident report enyuga, it's not really an indication because the incidents themselves have gone up. It might be that people now are more aware, they are more informed. They know now that they are expected to report. So we expect near-miss reports to increase. Improvement suggestion increasing, where in Google theme scenario today, where we're looking at active participation and social dialogue for building a positive safety culture. We expect more collaborating suggestions from all levels within the work area as far as improving occupational health and safety is concerned. Expectation of more engagement during briefings and improving behaviors generally within the workplace. That was my last slide. And at this point, maybe just as a parting short story, there is a guy, he had a problem with his eyes, like me. He couldn't see clearly. But he had all the money in the world. Went to all the eye doctors, but his problem wasn't solved. Your problem is with the color green. You're supposed to see the color green. If you look at any other color, immediately your eyes would become painful. So he went home, he painted everything green, bought green clothes for his workers, bought green cars, everything was green, and immediately his eyesight started improving. 2 months down the line, the monk decides to visit him to check on him as his patient. The moment the monk gets on the gate, 2 guys come with buckets of green paint because he was wearing white. They poured the green paint of him. And then in surprise, Okay, he goes in and then fair enough, he finds him with a better eyesight and he asks him, so how have you been doing? He said, you know, you're a lifesaver. My eyesight improved the moment I changed everything green. And then he asked him, but wouldn't it have made a better sense instead to go and buy green eyeglasses instead of painting everything green? So ladies and gentlemen, even on this case, in terms of health and safety requirements, some of them are legislation, regulations. We cannot change them per se, but if we change our vision, if we change how we look at this, if we change how we view them as value adding within our respective businesses, then we can be able to build a positive safety and culture, a health and safety culture. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashwama, who has been making his speech on behalf of the Employer Federation, that is Business Eswatini. From his speech, we noted that he highlighted that it is also quite important for employers to make sure that employees are kept safe because issues of ill health and injury are detrimental to productivity in the workplace. So it is in the employer's interest to make sure that the right health and safety systems are put in place in the different organizations. He also highlighted the right to health and safety must be respected at all levels, and also highlighted the accident triangle, where you say that before an accident happens, there have been many instances where a fatality could have been prevented. So, safety leadership, whereby every person must become safety conscious, as safety is both an individual and collective responsibility. So which means safety begins with me, with you, and all of us. So whilst I call upon the next speaker, who will be a representative from the Ministry, request the Minister of Health to approach the podium. So today, ladies and gentlemen, whilst we are celebrating the day here in Eswatini, also in various over in 100 countries, all the countries in the Isle of Formation are also celebrating this day through various awareness-raising activities. So to make sure that there is social dialogue. Maybe someone would be asking themselves, what is social dialogue? So in terms of the ILO, it defines social dialogue as all types of negotiation and consultation or simple exchange of information between or among representatives of governments, employers, and workers on issues of common interest relating to economic and social policy. So you will see, ladies and gentlemen, even from our the speeches that we have today, we have the different social partners. We have a government making a speech, we have employers making a speech, and we've got workers making a speech. So that shows also how we are trying to make sure that every time we have the social dialogue of all the three tripartite partners. Over to you. That's all.
Program Director, Honorable Minister of Labour and Social Security, Members of Parliament present, Principal Secretary and Minister of Labour and Social Security, senior officials from government and non-governmental organizations, workers' councils and representatives, the media partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Vusi Makakula from Togolago. I'm the Director of Health Services, and it is a great pleasure and honor for me to be one of the speakers in this special day to commemorate the Work Day for Health and Safety at Work. The Ministry of Health is one of the major stakeholders for health and safety at work, and it is by default that we are included in today's program. Honorable Minister, may I take you down the memory lane just to remind you of something you may already know. There was a man in Great Britain called Lord Alfred Robben who was tasked to review and make recommendations of the health and safety regulatory framework. He produced the popular Robbins Report of 1972, which is widely regarded to have provided the underlying rationale for the modern system of occupational health and safety. The Robbins Report gave birth to modern health and safety at work laws. Before the Robbins Report, there were so many pieces of legislation in place which left many people unprotected. In his report, he noted the element of departmental rivalry meant that cooperation and exchange of knowledge, experiences, and information was minimal and generally ineffective. It was through the Robbins Report that we have the Health and Safety Executive, HSE, in the UK, which is the national watchdog for work-related health and safety. Coming back to, we have the Occupational Safety and Health Department of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, which plays the same role as the Health and Safety Executive, HSE, in the UK to protect the health, safety, and welfare of workers, including the public in general, who may be affected by work activities. The Ministry of Health collaborates with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in health and safety issues. The Ministry is represented in the Technical Committee for the Occupational Safety and Health, TCOSH. We have worked with the Ministry to develop a national workplace wellness, HIV, and TB policies, working together on the ongoing development of health and safety policy. We have also worked closely in controlling COVID-19 in workplaces. However, there is need to improve collaboration and coordination between the two ministries, more particularly the Environmental Health Department in the Ministry of Health and the Occupational Safety and Health, OSH Department in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. These two departments, Honourable Minister, have a common goal of protecting health and safety in the workplaces. Honourable Minister, we have noted the shortage of inspectors in the Occupational Safety and Health Department with no solution in sight due to the government policy of not creating new posts. We have noted the dire shortage of inspectors in the OSH department during the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, which brought these two ministries to work very closely in workplaces. In support of the World Day for Health and Safety at Work theme, let's act together. The Minister of Health have a pleasant surprise gift for you, which may help you temporarily resolve the shortage of inspectors in the Occupational Safety and Health Department. In the Ministry of Health, we have an Environmental Health Department with trained environmental health officers in safety and health. We are publicly challenging the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to make full use of the environmental health officers who are posted in all 4 regions. We request the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to delegate its powers in terms of Occupational Safety and Health Act to environmental health officers in the Ministry of Health and municipalities to conduct inspections in some factories or workplaces as may be allocated to them. Currently, there are 51 environmental health officers in the Ministry of Health, strategically posted in the 4 regions, and about 19 environmental health officers in 7 municipalities. These officers are conversant with occupational safety, health and safety issues,
and it is part of their training curriculum. Your duty will be to reorient them in the enforcement of the occupational safety and health legislation, harmonization of the way of carrying out inspections and accident investigations. Once these are done, you'll be assured of receiving regular reports on work done. The ball is now on the Ministry of Labour and Social Security Board to take decisions on our offer. Program Director, Honourable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, it is worth urging government departments to develop the culture of working together for the benefit of all people living in Eswatini. We do not need competition amongst each other, but we need to complement each other. The government is one big family with working with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in health and safety issues at the workplace. Honourable Minister, please consider our generous present the pleasant surprise gift we have offered to you as a sign of our willingness to act together, to work together in support of the World Day for Health and Safety at Work theme, which says, let's act together. Lastly, the Ministry of Health wishes to remind all of us here that COVID-19 is still with us, and we need to continue observing and practicing all the known health precautions. HIV and TB still remain transmissible infections, whilst non-communicable diseases are surely on the rise, though largely preventable. May I wish you all the best in the year 2022 and beyond. God bless us all.
Thank you to the Director of Health Services, Dr. Vusi Makakula, Asibonga Mthombeni. Dr. Makakula, in his remarks, highlighted how the Ministry of Health has a role to play in ensuring a safety and health culture in our workplaces. He highlighted that we know that we are currently faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, and you will know that the Ministry of Health is the one that has been giving guidelines on how to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Level and also at the industry level. So you can see that the collaboration between the government ministries is quite very critical because we might look at issues of occupational health and safety and only think of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, whilst there are also other entities which have got a role to play. Minister, just to retaliate that the Ministry of Health has given to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security by saying the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, the Osh unit, has got few inspectors. And if we look at the Osh Profile, which has just been completed, it's one of the issues that have been raised, that the department is short on personnel who can do inspections. And these services needs to be decentralized to make sure that there is enough coverage of all the industries in Eswatini. And the Ministry of Health is offering a solution to that challenge by saying they have already experts on the ground, 51 in the various regions, and which the Ministry of Labour and Social Security can tap into by either delegating powers, then you harmonize the working arrangement and making sure that the system is the same that is used. Then obviously, I think the ministry is going to look into this, and it will be a positive development in fostering a positive health and safety culture. And we thank the Ministry of Health for extending that olive leaf to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. I hope that maybe the minister will give us some other good news in his speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move to our next presentation. We will ask the workers' representative to come whilst he comes on stage. Mr. Duduzikina is supposed to make remarks on behalf of workers. Let's welcome Mr. Gina on stage. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will know that the issues of health and safety are discussed at various levels. There is the tripartite level, that is where we have the government, and we also have employers, then we have workers. And they are also discussed at bipartite level, where now we have got the employer and the workers at enterprise level. So we will hear from Mr. Kina, what are the issues that employees have with regards to health and safety, and how they can also make sure that we enhance a positive health and safety culture. Mr. Kina, welcome.
Program Director, thank you very much. We have said it correctly. My name is Mduduskina. In this gathering, I will be representing the interest of workers. Ordinarily, I am coming from the Trade Union Congress of Swaziland. Honorable Minister and your high table, we feel honored to be part of this commemoration. Our understanding is that health and safety forms part of the fundamental worker rights. As it will be recognized as such by the International Labour Organization. Our understanding, Honorable Minister, is that the common law provides, or the arrangement per the common law understanding, is that issues of, or is that the issue of a safe environment forms part of the implied terms of the contract of employment of an employee. And that starting point will kind of imply as if, or perhaps suggest as if issues of health and safety are only the responsibility of the employer. That is how has put the issue of health and safety at the workplace. Fundamentally, it is an obligation of the employer to ensure that the work is carried out under safe conditions. Health and safety, however, is the responsibility of every one person at the workplace. The obligation by the employer cannot be discharged without the full participation of the workers. In the name of safety measures, we have seen that the players at the workplace have tried to blame each other. Those some would refer as shifting the back tendency. Kutsi bekufanele silenza balena into ngibani nalomunye athi bekufanele senziwe ngilomunye. The employer on the one hand would cry negligence on the part of the worker, whilst the worker would cry lack of protective clothing and unsafe working conditions. It is clear that these parties need each other in an equal footing. It is in the interest of all the players that the workplace is safe from hazards. We note, Honorable Minister, that in fact, the country has gone a little bit ahead in terms of making the issue of occupational health and safety as a fundamental right for the workers. Occupational Health and Safety Act provides sufficient legislative protection and promotion of health and safety in the workplace. Obviously, it may not be adequate protection, but a very good starting point towards a well-regulated health and safety working environment. The formation of health committees by workers themselves is a milestone arrangement in the workplace healthy and safe. We note, however, that there are temptations by some employers to compose some committees outside this legislative arrangement and framework. We may have to improve on that. We note that this temptation is as a result of the powers vested on the committees by the Occupational Health and Safety Act. We note how, again, that it should be the responsibility of the social partners at the workplace, that they should engage each other to a level of trust that the other party would trust the other, so that these powers vested on these committees, they don't get misused to disrupt company productions. Because we note that the fear by the employers is that perhaps the powers that then tends to be vested upon the committees may disrupt production. Hence, they would want to limit. Then the issue of social dialogue at the workplace becomes very key. We note that, my apologies. The independence of the committees, Honorable Minister, and the High Table, in their engagements at the workplace level, they should make sure that it includes the organized formation at the workplace. Because it will be the organized formations that will be in a position to convene meetings. If the health and safety are operating outside the organized worker formations, they may find difficulty in terms of assisting the company on issues of health and safety. These committees should not be seen to be competing with the organized structures existing in the various industries and organizations. Honorable Minister, that there would be some kind of challenges that would be faced as we intend to achieve the protection of the workplace from issues of health and safety. That you find that there are a lot of gadgets that then tends to be hanged on the worker's body. I would make an example, Honorable Minister Sheng. Ukuthi uke ukhanzela ukuthi kuthiwa sebenda sewufaka emagalapa uyasuka mafaka emagalapa sekuthiwa faka nento la bese sekuthiwa faka nemagoggles ufake nesifonyo ufake nemahudlu ufake nema-earplugs, but the intention now is to protect the worker against some noise that is coming out from a machinery. The issue is perhaps can't we get some silencers of the noise in the machine than to hang to say, let us get some things that would reduce the noise that is coming from the production machine. We have noted, we are not responding, Honorable Minister. We have noted that, in fact, it goes to the question, I've been following, I was asking from my colleagues from Eswatini, saying, well, but colleagues, kukhulunywa ulimi luni la. What, yathi the comrade, awuthululale. Ngase ngiyalalela nami, hey nemba la khulunywa silungu la. Ndakwenda njani ngoba bengibhala ipresentation yami ngesintu. Sekufuna sengifunze lesintu, ngisigusho sivele kunebantu bekhamba. We may have to see whether that 7% that then gets to be recognized by the workers is not as a result of how we communicate with them. Now, I would say, are we able to take these issues to their level? And sophisticated words that they can't appreciate. The provision of personal clothing, personal protective clothing is some kind of an area that needs improvement. And this issue, it seems to be there in the private, in the private, inclusive of the private sector. We need to attend. Maybe dust at the workplace. You may find some dust in the textile sector. You may find dust in the construction sector. That needs to be attended as well. Luckily, we believe strongly that safety at the workplace is our responsibility as well. And we commit to cooperate and contribute towards
Thank you, Mr. Gina. Ladies and gentlemen, we will get through the speeches first, and then we will have a panel discussion. And so if there are issues that need to be part of the panel, and then we'll be able to interrogate and ask questions and answers. So let's get through the first part of the program, which is the speeches first. So the next speaker, we know, as I had already mentioned, that the World Day for Safety and Health at Work has been commemorated through the active participation of the ILO, and also making sure that they promote the interests of ensuring good health and safety practices at the workplace, and also not only at the workplace, at the national level. Instruments are developed by the relevant tripartite partners to protect health and safety. So at this moment, we are going to have a recorded video by our ILO representative. I hope it is now, I hope it is ready for Zooming. Can we go over to the recorded video of the ILO representative so that we can hear from the insights from the International Labour Organization? Let's go over to the video.
Although virtually, of this event. to commemorate together with Eswatini the World Day for Safety and Health 2022 under the theme Act Together to Build a Positive Safety and Health Culture. This is a theme that has been influenced by the need to share what COVID-19 has taught us. The theme challenged us to build a positive culture. And in the context of occupational safety and health, the culture that is positive is the preventative safety and health culture, within which the right to a safe and healthy working environment is respected at all levels, where the government, employers, and workers actively participate in securing the safe and health working environment through a system of defined rights, responsibilities, and duties, and whereby the principle of prevention is given a highest priority. Social dialogue stems from the ILO Constitution and further emphasized by more specific ILO conventions such as Tripartite Consultation Convention number 144 of 1976, Freedom of Association and Protection of Rights to Organize Convention number 87 of 1948, Right to Organize and Collective Bargaining Convention number 98 of 1949, and Collective Bargaining Convention number 154 of 1981. In addition to this, the Employment and Decent Work for Peace and Resilience Recommendation number 205 of 2017 have been in shaping the strategic approach to crisis response in order to promote safe and decent working conditions. Social dialogue for Osh. This includes the rights of the social partners to submit proposals, to be consulted, and to participate in decision-making on national Osh development. And it's also a prerequisite for solid national Osh systems and effective preventive measures at the workplace. This has been emphasized by the ILO Conventions on Health Convention number 155 of 1981, Protocol of 2002 to the Occupational Safety and Health Convention, Occupational Health Services Convention number 161 of 1985, and the Promotional Framework for Occupational Safety and Health Convention number 187 of 2006. The dialogue at different levels, the national and the workplace level. Dialogue at the national levels is where the tripartite partners whose interests and perspectives will differ, also in the context of occupational safety and health. And they have a duty to create positive occupational safety and health culture by devising and implementing the effective and coherent policies and regulatory framework through the process of social dialogue. It is through the social dialogue process also the tripartite constituents actively participate in all phases of decision-making processes, ranging from developing the policies and regulatory framework to promoting the compliance mechanisms at the workplace level. It is hence vital that the government, involving all other relevant ministries, commits to building and maintaining such a preventative safety and health culture and ensuring that the workers' health and safety are considered as a priority in the national agenda. It is through the meaningful social dialogue that the tripartite national commitment constitutes the cornerstones for such preventative safety and health culture. And it's such commitment is demonstrated in means and resources allocated to occupational safety and health. in the country. Dialogue at the workplace level. Building a positive safety and health culture at the workplace requires open communication. It requires also dialogue built on trust and mutual respect. It is in workplaces with a strong, positive Osh culture where workers feel comfortable to raise concerns on occupational health, hazards and risks, and management also is proactive about collaborating with us to find appropriate, effective, and sustainable solutions. Data has demonstrated that success in implementation of occupational safety and health management systems and compliance with the occupational safety and health regulations occurs where the positive Osh cultures and respect for the rights to a safe and healthy working environment prevail. We have learned lessons from COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 pandemic has posed many challenges to Osh, exposing actors in the world of work to the risk of infection to the coronavirus, as well as to new and emerging risks related to the emergency and the newly adopted working practices and procedures. Social dialogue, though, has played a vital role in addressing the complex situation of COVID-19 pandemic at all levels, from the national to the workplace level. Accordingly, governments that has prioritized active participation of workers and employers' representatives in Osh governance have been able to collectively develop and implement emergency laws, policies, and interventions. The COVID-19 pandemic has also provided for a much wider consultation outside the traditional tripartite structures. Throughout the pandemic, scope of dialogue was expanded to explore collaboration between the labor sector and the public health sector, because COVID-19 has been a problem for workers and also for the general public alike. Tripartite Forum has been fittingly expanded also to involve on permanent or ad hoc basis other institutions such as the Osh associations and the academic institutions. There are some evidences noted on the benefit of working together for Osh. It has been recorded that COVID-19 pandemic has correlated with an increase in the tripartite social dialogue to develop the policies and strategies. The global survey of trade unions found that 83% reported dialogue in response to COVID, with approximately 89% stating that they had engaged in the tripartite consultation. Another global study revealed that 59% of the 133 surveyed countries tripartite dialogue took place in response to COVID-19, with one of the priorities that has been a center of the negotiation being occupational safety and health measures. So COVID-19 has also led to occupational safety and health being an agenda or finding a prominent place in the collective bargaining and forming part of the agreements. How do for Osh during and beyond the COVID-19? COVID-19 and its consequences are expected to last or to persist for many months or even years. Last year in June at the International Labour Conference, the government, employers and workers anonymously adopted the global call to action for human-centered recovery from COVID-19 crisis that is inclusive, sustainable and resilient, focusing on the 4 key areas, namely inclusive economic growth and employment, protection of all workers, universal social protection, and social dialogue. This call highlights the need to provide all workers with adequate protection, as well as respect for international labor standards, including those on OSH. It also calls for the countries to ensure that workers at higher risk of exposure to COVID-19 and those at greater risk of negative health impacts, such as healthcare workers and other workers as regarded as frontline workers, including those working transnationally, to be accorded adequate protection. The call also challenged countries to introduce and utilize teleworking and other new working arrangements so as to retain jobs, expand decent work opportunities through, among other means, regulations, social dialogue, collective bargaining, workplace cooperation, and efforts to reduce disparities in digital access, respecting international labor standards and privacy, and promoting the data protection and work-life balance. Through consulting with the social partners, governments will also design and implement the national recovery plans and policies, addressing the need for retention and business continuity, and invest in priority sectors and areas. As I conclude, allow me to share a quote by one of the famous philosophers and authors from the past centuries, Peter Drucker. Quote, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." Unquote. This implies that no matter how good our strategies are, it is the prevailing culture that determines their success. The international labor standards are good, but often at mercy of culture. The national policies on OSH, conducive OSH culture at all levels, they remain just dreams. The labor and OSH inspectorate, the tripartite structures, and other institutions will remain ineffective until we get the culture right. The ILO has been and continues monitoring the rate of occupational injuries and diseases, as well as the work-related deaths. According to the latest estimates, the 2.9 million workers die every year due to occupational accidents and diseases, and at least 402 million workers or people suffer from non-fatal occupational injuries. Strategies to reduce the rates of occupational diseases, occupational accidents, and work-related deaths are not that bad. It is the culture that needs fixing. So let's do the right thing. The ILO remains at your disposal for technical support and guidance. And we look forward to working with you the journey towards the finalization of the national OSH policy in accordance with the relevant ILO instruments and the national aspiration to the benefit of the people of Eswatini. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you to the ILO representative, Penny, who was giving us a speech for the ILO, in also to motivate us as we are having the World Day for Safety and Health here in Eswatini. Penny mentioned that social dialogue for OSH includes the right of workers to be consulted, and also mentioned that it is important that when you develop the national OSH system, you consider the OSH specific conventions, the ILO specific conventions like Convention 155, Convention 161, Convention 176, and Convention 187, and those recommendations. So she also made emphasis that it is important to have dialogue at the workplace level and it includes open communication between the workers and employers, that is management, to make sure that we improve the occupational health and safety culture in our various entities. Penny also mentioned the impact COVID-19 has had in terms of all challenges in terms of how we implement OSH, but also mentioned that at the same time the issues of COVID has made to be more focused, more attention has been paid to occupational health and safety, also because of the issues of COVID. So there was a negative and some positive that we can take from the COVID-19. So we must make sure that we continue to have the strength in social dialogue in our different areas. So she concluded with a quote from Peter Drucker that culture is strategy for breakfast. That is, even if you can have the best strategy, but if you do not have the right culture, your strategy will not succeed. So that's why it is very important that we have a positive culture. Even if we are implementing issues of occupational health and safety, we can have the best policies, the best laws, but if our culture is not the one that makes sure that we achieve organizational success, we will not succeed. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, I will call upon PS from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, who is going to introduce the Honorable Minister so that we can be addressed by the Honorable Minister. So I will call upon, I'll request the Principal Secretary to approach the podium so that we can be addressed by the Honorable Minister. Yes.
Master of Ceremony, thank you so much. Honorable Minister, members of the portfolio in Parliament in both houses, the workers and the government officials from the different ministries who are with us in here. May I thank you for making time to come and be with us as we commemorate this World Day for Safety and Healthy at Work. I'm sure that with the speeches and the inputs from the different stakeholders, we will have a way forward on how to improve the health in the workstations. It is now my singular honor to invite the Honorable Minister for Labor and Social Security, Babe Pilap Telezi, to come up front and give his speech. Honorable Minister.
Program Director, I'm a bit shorter than Mr. Hlope. Can someone please lower the mic? Program Director, Standing Chairperson and Senate portfolio members,
PS and PS representatives who we may be having amongst us here, employers and worker federation representatives, panelists, members of Tripartite Advisory Technical Committee for Osh, government officials, all media houses present today, those who have joined us virtually and live on television, ladies and gentlemen, may I begin by greeting you all. I hope there was consensus that maybe speakers will be allowed to remove their masks when making speeches. I hope Director for Health Services will bear with us. I noted that he's the only one who did not remove his mask. I hope that's not an indication of something you're holding back from telling us about the COVID pandemic. Maybe in due course, but for today, please bear with us, Tom Ben. Program Director, the World Day for Safety and Health at Work is an annual event celebrated throughout the world on the 28th of April. Its main purpose is to promote the prevention of occupational accidents and diseases in the world of work. It is an awareness-raising campaign intended to focus international attention on the magnitude of the problem and on how to promote and create a safety and health culture which will help in reducing the number of work-related deaths, diseases, and injuries. Every day, people die as a result of occupational accidents or work-related diseases. Each year, at least 1.9 million people die, and 90 million disability-adjusted life years were estimated to be attributable to exposure to 19 major occupational risk factors. Additionally, there is some 360 million non-fatal occupational accidents each year, resulting in more than 4 days of absence of work. So there is a need to provide for the establishment of a national system of continuous improvement on occupational safety and health and the building of a preventive safety and health culture. This year, the World Day for Safety and Health at Work focuses on enhancing social dialogue towards a culture of safety and health, hence the theme, Act Together to Build a Positive Safety and Health Culture. Creating a sound culture of prevention of OSH requires the participation of employers and workers' organizations in the governance of safety and health at work. The tripartite partners may have different interests and perspectives, but consultation and discussion contribute towards improving communication, leading to a better understanding of any concerns and any constraints that might exist, and pave the way for joint and agreed actions and for the development of a collaborative culture in addressing OSH issues. A strong coordinated effort for all the stakeholders is required to define common goals, priorities, objectives, and targets for strengthening the national OSH system and to bring about more efficient use of available resources. Ladies and gentlemen, the meaningful participation of government, employers, workers, public health actors, and all relevant stakeholders at national and enterprise level has been vital in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. It is in this spirit that this year's theme is encapsulated. We need to work together as an occupational safety and health stakeholders to build a positive OSH culture. COVID-19 pandemic has brought about new challenges in the occupational safety and health and fundamental rights at work. The 2021 Global Call for Action for a Human-Centered Recovery from the COVID-19 crisis by the ILO requires member states to provide all workers with adequate protection, reinforcing respect for international labor standards and promoting their ratification implementation, supervision, with particular attention to areas where serious gaps have been revealed by the crisis. This includes safety and health at work, with particular attention to the ongoing challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Kingdom has obliged by the National Constitution and enacted legislative instruments that address various issues, including rights of workers to occupational safety and health. In 2019, with the support of the ILO, a situational analysis into the national OSH systems was conducted. The result was a stakeholder-validated national OSH profile, as rightly mentioned by the program director, where strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats were highlighted within the current OSH infrastructure and practices. In response to the gaps highlighted by the national OSH profile, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, in collaboration with the ILO, is currently drafting a national OSH policy spearheaded by the Tripartite Plus Experts Committee on OSH. The national OSH policy represents the integral part of the strategic approach to the promotion of safety and health at work, as it is essential for developing a stable and productive work environment. The national policy includes government's commitment to the prevention of occupational accidents and diseases, guiding principles of actions, as well as the functions and responsibilities of the main stakeholders. As a ministry, we are so grateful to the ILO for their support that they continuously demonstrate in the spirit of working together at international level. Through their technical and financial assistance, we have developed a national wellness policy that will address all wellness dimensions, including physical, psychological, intellectual, social, environmental, spiritual, and cultural aspects of a worker in the workspace. In the era of COVID-19, and in partnership with the University of Eswatini, the ILO supported a rapid assessment of workplaces' compliance to COVID-19 regulations to inform our response to the pandemic. Locally, the ministry has made meaningful partnerships with relevant stakeholders. We have partnered with the Construction Industry Council to develop a construction safety and health regulations that seek to protect workers and any other persons from the risks associated with the construction work. At the enterprise level, the OSH Act of 2001 provides for safety committees as social dialogue structures that respond to OSH issues within organizations. Obviously, there is still a lot to be done to strengthen our national OSH system. To build a strong national OSH culture, we need to introduce OSH early in the school curriculum. This means working together with the Ministry of Education and other relevant stakeholders to ensure that OSH is integrated into our education system. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we would like to thank our social partners, Eswatini Television Authority, Sinambetelo Motor Vehicle Accident Fund, Eswatini Royal Insurance Corporation, Academia, Safety, Health, Environment and Quality Forum, Eswatini Standards Authority, and the panelists for their support as we strive to raise the priority of OSH in the national agenda. Let us act together in building a resilient, positive safety and health culture. Thank you. God bless you all. Well, let me also mention that we warmly welcome the olive branch extended to us by the Ministry of Health in as far as personnel for OSH inspections is concerned. Well, it wouldn't have come at a better time, where as a ministry we are currently working on finding a good working pattern that will strengthen the inspections at the workplace, because we are noting that in quite a number of the workspaces, there are some shortcomings, there are some under-declarations. We find that employees are very much exposed, more so in the industries which include construction, agriculture, manufacturing. We need to do something, because if there is no compliance, at the end of the day, the more exposed are the employees, so to say. So we very much appreciate the offer as a ministry, and will definitely, as soon as practicable, engage and try to formalize the partnership to ensure that the inspections are done as efficient and as effective as possible. Bantu bakwethu abekukubeka nje mabili mathathu kulo msebenzi lesihlangane ngawo namhla yindzaba yethu sonke. Njengoba i-theme isho ukuthi let's act together, kuba khona kwenu la as the different partners, cinema employers, employees, Osh specialists, health, and all other key stakeholders. Siyathokoza kakhulu lokuhlangana nje kuyinto lenkulu kubuka ukuthi tisebenzi nemsebenzi uphephile. Kumcoka kakhulu because kuze i-economy umnotho welive ube ngilokhu ichitha lokwanele, tisebenzi nawo umsebenzi kufuna kube kungilophephile. Siyabonga nje kakhulu, and sicela kunifisela ema-discussions la fruitful as i-program isachubeka. Kuyasita ke lokho ukuthi vele ema-stakeholders onke represented, because kugcina kuphuma likhambile lingilo at the end. Atihlabane kodwa nje kubeka imbono ngivile magadlela athi akusho ukuthi soyaphendula, but now we're going to the phase where there will be panel discussions and the different stakeholders will make contributions that will lapha i-workspace yethu silivela Eswatini. Let me also extend, well, I had already done it, but I find it important to once again extend our appreciation for the support that we are continuously getting from the ILO. Penny, please do extend our sincere appreciation to the organization's leadership. You have always been available to us, and we greatly appreciate. We are committing to ensuring that the workspace is safe, and we will work as a tripartite: government, employers, and employees. Siyabonga kakhulu, sinifisela kuchubeka kahle kwawo umsebenzi kulolu suku lanamuhla. Siyabonga.
Thank you to the Honorable Minister for addressing us on the theme called a positive health and safety culture. From the minister's speech, we can note that the minister did mention that there is a need to strengthen the system, and also the minister made mention that there is the national Osh Profile, which has been developed, which is like a state of the health and safety environment space in Eswatini. It gives a snapshot of what are the shortcomings, the strength, the weaknesses of in Eswatini. So the national Osh Profile, we are hoping that all the issues that are addressed in the profile have been raised. The ministry is going to look into those issues. And some of the interesting issues that are raised on the profile is that we know that issues of occupational health and safety, we have some international labor standards, the conventions which outline how we can have a system that is local, but whilst at the same time global. So it would be interesting to know that if what was the position of the Kingdom of Eswatini with the ratification of some of the conventions that are related to occupational health and safety, like Convention 187. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment now we are going to move to the next part of our event, which is the panel discussions. So I will ask our panelists to come up on stage so that we can immediately start having our panel discussion. Our panelists will make a short presentation, and then we will then have a question and answer session. We are going to be having 4 panelists with us. The first panelist is from the SHEC Forum, Mr. Liberty Dube. So I will ask him to please move to the stage. So we have the 4 chairs over them. Then our next panelist is Ms. Nolwazi Dlamini, who is an Osh practitioner. We request that you move to the podium. And our next panelist will be for the representative of employers, Mr. Stelo Mashwama. We request that you join us on stage. And then the next panelist will be for the workers. We request Mr. Gina that on stage. We will have another panelist, which we have 4 chairs. Then we will have the next panelist after these panelists, ladies and gentlemen. So at this moment, I will ask from the SHEC Forum, which is a forum in Eswatini, which is of practitioners, that is occupational health and safety practitioners come together under one umbrella. So we'll hear from Mr. Liberty Dube what the practitioners have to say with regards to how we can ensure that we act together for a positive health and to build a positive health and safety culture. Mr. Dube, you have the floor.
Honorable Minister, representatives of government ministries, and distinguished guests, once again, I bid you a good morning. And my name is Liberty Dube, as the MC has already alluded. And today, I'm representing the SHEC Forum, but ordinarily, I am working with the SHEC Professional Solutions. Before I delve into the matter that we are all here for, I would like to have just a short video that we will all watch that will jog our minds into the issue that we are here for together.
A welder was tasked to repair a hole in the hull of a barge. Assisted by 2 other employees, he opened the hatch into the compartment where the repair was to be made. A welding machine was positioned on deck near the hatch. Carrying the welding leads, the welder climbed down to the repair site. The compartment was flooded with 5 inches of water, so he quickly became wet. He inserted a welding rod into the electrode holder. He waded back through the compartment and climbed up to the deck. He turned on the welding machine and went below to repair the hole. He burned the first rod and dropped the stub into the water. He picked up a new welding rod, and as he inserted it into the electrode holder, he completed the circuit between the electrode holder and ground. Current flowed through his saturated glove. through his wet body, out his submerged steel-toed shoes, and into the steel deck he was standing on. The location of the victim inside the barge made rescue difficult. Because no rescue equipment was available at the job site, the fire department was called. They were not trained in confined space rescue. Upon arrival, they found that the victim was beyond resuscitation. A competent person should check the space prior to entry. The water in the space should have been pumped out, or a board should have been placed above the water for the welder to stand on. Do not weld while standing in water. The welder was not properly trained to perform welding operations in wet environments. Employers must ensure their local fire departments are trained to provide emergency rescue. If not, arrangements should be made with other parties to provide this service, or employers need to develop their own in-house rescue team. Open access holes in decks should be adequately guarded to prevent employees from accidentally falling down them.
So I think the presentations that have been made this morning regarding what can be done, how can we come together, I think the video that we've just watched summarizes some of the issues that we are looking at. One of the presenters mentioned that the issue of the safety of the workers probably could lie on the employee to ensure that machines are designed in a better way rather than making the employees to wear the last line of protection, which is PPE. So as the Czech Forum, I would like to shed a bit more light on the Czech Forum. The Czech Forum is comprised of Czech professionals in various organizations in the country, and the major role is to play a leading role in establishing and sustaining a national Czech association aimed at advancing the development of a national quality infrastructure that serves our economic system and make all Swazi organizations trade and deliver competitively, locally and internationally through the promotion of best practices in the management of safety, occupational health, environment risk, and quality, and facilitating interaction, networking, sharing information amongst persons involved in management and training of safety, occupational health, environment, risk, and quality. So this year's theme comes at an opportune time when the work environment as we had known it has somehow changed. People are now working from home, and things in the work environment have changed. So we as the Czech Forum, as I've said, there is need for people to come together, the social dialogue that we've been discussing. The Czech Forum provides this panel where all these professionals can come together so that the solutions in making sure that the work environment is made safer. And one of the issues that has been caused by the emergence of the pandemic is that of the mental health. We are also now putting the spotlight onto the mental health of the workers. We usually talk about the injuries that take place in the construction and everything, but the mental well-being, the mental health of the workers is also, has also to be taken as a priority. So the Czech Forum believes that the training of the workers, as the video alluded, we need to ensure that workers are trained in the specific works that they are doing. We need to ensure that the local municipalities that provide services, rescue and emergency services, also come to the party and understand the work environments that the workers are exposed to. I think for now I will leave it there for my next colleague.
Thank you for that presentation. We will take 3 speakers, then we will open for a question and answer session. So we'll now move over so we can have a presentation from our Osh practitioner. Over to you, Norbert.
Thank you. It is a great honor to be part of this gathering, and I'm very grateful indeed. I would say we are acting together as per our theme for the day, celebrating World Day for Health and Safety at Work in building a positive safety and healthy culture. In spite of the existing interventions for primary prevention of occupational hazards, to developing healthy workplaces, there are still major gaps between countries in the effective management of exposure of workers and local communities to potential hazards and potential environmental hazards. It is rather sad to know that African countries do not have national policy on occupational health and safety. Furthermore, most of the countries with adopted policies have not completely integrated the policy in the working sectors of their economies. Hence, in most African countries, safety still related with high-risk work such as mining, construction, manufacturing, agriculture. So in most workplaces, like in our country, we haven't integrated occupational health in own working spaces because it cuts across all professions. Most of the time we look at the industries like in agriculture, in mining, and forget about other workers in working environments like in the banks, in any working space. Occupational health should be taken into consideration. Occupational health involves prevention, recognition, and treatment of illness and injury, and requires special skills and knowledge in the field of health, education, counseling, and environmental health, rehabilitation, and human relations. So, as I've said, it cuts across all professions. We're looking at environmental health. We're looking at HR issues. We're looking at health. We're also educating, like my colleague has said just recently next to me. Access to full functional occupational health services still remains a dream for most workforces in developing countries, and more so in sub-Saharan Africa, especially in our country. Most occupational health services, as in a working space, are not there. They are not provided. We don't have those kind of spaces except in companies like Ilovo, Smunye, Maloma. But in other workspaces, we don't have that. Swaziland and the surrounding regions are vulnerable to issues that negatively impact on employees' well-being, especially occupational health and safety. The uniqueness of scenarios requires a distinct solution to proactively promote, support, and enable employee well-being levels at all levels. The aim of an occupational health service, like in a clinic, is to appoint employees able to perform their function of their job, to protect all employees against all health hazards which may arise out of their work or conditions in which it is carried out, to continue towards the employee's physical and mental adjustment by applying economic principles and adhere to measure job specifications, to maximize the health of all employees in order to optimize productivity. So this is to explain why we have occupational health practitioners, nurse practitioners and doctors, so that you are able to appoint an employee that is well, that is healthy, and ensure that the environment that they are going to work at is safe. Usually, they tell, before you get hired, they tell you to go and work in a place. They require you to do a medical. Why? So that we know that you are fit to do that job. Usually people don't understand why they have to do that. It is very important in a work environment to do medical surveillance, because we want to have employees that are healthy to carry that particular job. So people usually don't understand why they have to do that. But it is critical for your job. Especially, I'll make one example. An electrician had to do an eye test. Usually it is critical in that kind of job, because you find that you have to know the color coordinations. When they usually use, what do you call it? The extensions and all that, they have wires there. So if you can't identify a green and a yellow color, then you are not fit for that job. If you have, let me make an example of fits. You have fits and then you are required to go to work at a mine. You are not fit to go underground, because you are a health hazard to other employees and yourself. So those are the main reasons that you find you have to do a medical exam, and that people don't understand. Usually they find shortcuts and they don't want to do those exams, yet they are important. And usually we are frowned upon because they think you won't say they are fit to do that job. Yet it is important, because you will be a hazard to yourself and others. Occupational safety and health is a legal requirement, and it cuts across all fields, as I've said, as an individual right, as some of the members in the House has mentioned, though the Constitution, through the Constitution, and as a worker's right through the Occupational Health and Safety Act 2001. Occupational health care contributes importantly to national welfare and prosperity. It maximizes opportunities for people of working age to participate in safe and rewarding work, bringing benefits for their own health, that of their families and the wider economy. Delivery of occupational health care, including safety in the workplace, is a multidisciplinary activity requiring effective teamwork and collaboration, as per our theme of the day, whereby guidelines issued by the international bodies frequently serve as the only source of ethical standards in setting with weak regulatory infrastructure and or limited ethical expertise. The integrity and relevance of guidelines from international agencies are therefore critical for protecting the health, well-being of employees, communities, and users of the healthcare globally, such as WHO or ILO and other UN family organizations. It is a legal requirement for all companies to supply products in international standards. The theme, Act Together to Build a Positive Safety and Healthy Culture, a culture in which the right to a safe and healthy working environment is respected at all levels, where governments, employees, and workers actively participate in securing a safe and healthy working environment through a system of defined rights, responsibilities, and duties, and where the principle of prevention is accorded the highest priority. The mandate of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is the duty to ensure the safety and health of all people at work, in line with ILO and the Occupational Safety and Health Act of Eswatini, as much as it is the duty of the employer to ensure that their employees are working in a safe environment, free of occupational disease, injury, and sickness. It is also the duty of the employee to ensure that the environment they work in is safe. So it is a teamwork, as we are saying today. So all three parties should work together to ensure that the working environment is safe. So how do we do that? How do we achieve that? By acting together to build a positive safety and healthy culture. So the ministry putting into place all the necessary legislation and ensuring that companies comply by doing audits and ensure that legislation are implemented and followed, by doing risk assessment, inspection and safety audits by the ministry. The employer, by putting in place guidelines and policies in the workplace to ensure it's safe to work at, which most companies has policy framework around that, but it is a matter of how they bring them to play as part of their daily routine. All should be considered and clearly communicated as a value and be integrated into every aspect of the enterprise's dealings. Communication, particularly frequent and open contact between managers and workers, play an important role in developing a positive org culture and attaining good org performance. Medical surveillance, as I've said before, risk assessment by the employer to create and enhance a positive org safety culture. Occupational training, as my colleague has said, is very key in a working environment to ensure that employees understand why you say they must do certain things. They must understand why you say they must wear that PPE at work. If you don't do the trainings, they won't know why they should do that. Usually they become rebellious, and that is why we have so many incidents at work because of that. They don't know and they don't understand. And another thing is that we also have to target the management to understand why this legislation has to be carried out. If they don't know, they'll just implement, and you'll find the frameworks that they are there, but because they want to comply with what government is saying, and because also it's an expensive role that they have to do, they have to put up money in order to ensure that every employee is safe. If they don't understand it, they'll just do it for the sake of doing it. To create and enhance a positive, I've said that, an employee wellness program that will cover the 8 dimensions of wellness. That is important. Now we are talking about, as I've said, occupational health is very diverse. So now we are talking about one dimension, which is occupational. There is also psychological wellness. I'm sure the minister has mentioned all of them: spiritual, psychological. Can someone help me there? So they are very important in the workplace, that all the 8 dimensions of wellness are included and are known. Like this day, I'll talk about it later though, where I'll mention the COVID pandemic. The employee should ensure that the work environment they work in is safe, follow companies' policies and guidelines. But if we don't educate them, they won't do that. Workers' perception of senior management's attitude and behaviors, I remember Mashwama mentioned that in his presentation, in relation to org, will form the basis of their safety behavior, and hence the enterprise's org performance. The use of PPE provided. Employees have the right to remove themselves from a work environment that is not safe. That they should understand. They also have a right. If they feel the work environment is not safe, they will move. Okay, nationally, the GAPS social dialogue to all types of negotiation and consultation, or simply the exchange of information between or among representatives of government, should be conducted. It may involve the social partners in different economic sectors within a single sector or companies. During the past 2 years, the COVID pandemic has posed many new challenges to Ox. All the actors in the world of work have been exposed to the risk of infection with coronavirus, as well as and the newly adopted work practices and procedures. So the policies that have been implemented should be looked back and see if they were right for that time. Moving forward, what are we going to do? So we should also look at those policies that have been implemented. I think I'm running out of time. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Program Director. A good morning or a good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. I won't be showing a presentation per se, but I'll be building on what I've already shared. I'll just put further or throw further some highlights that I think are key for discussion on how we can effectively shape up a positive occupational health and safety culture. Maybe I can summarize just some of the obstacles or barriers that are generically applicable to most workplaces in terms of shaping up a positive health and safety culture. The first one has got to do with the occupational health and safety issues being treated as a side issue in the workplace, where as organization we come up with strategic plans, be it a 3-5-year strategic plan, that spell the strategic intent of the organization. That's the direction we want to go. But in some instances, you find that when you zoom into these strategic plans, issues that pertain to occupational health and safety are lacking in those strategic plans. So now the question is, how then are we going to encompass occupational health and safety issues in our vision, in our missions, on our goals and objectives if they are treated as side issues, they are not included during strategic planning? This directly links to my second point, which pertains to inadequate resources. I've never been in an organization where resources are adequate. Almost all organization resources are inadequate. But now when it specifically comes to occupational health and safety issues, it's easier to say safety first, but when you actually look at operationalizing this in terms of allocating the required resources for occupational health and safety, you find that what we allocate as organization for occupational health and safety is actually not even a bare minimum of what is required. Again, ladies and gentlemen, let's remember that issues pertaining to occupational health and safety, they are a legal obligation, which means that they are non-negotiable. So practically, this means that when we are doing our strategic planning, when we are allocating resources, occupational health and safety should equally get the same significance as any other aspects of the business. Take a scenario where perhaps we are putting 80% of resources into production. Then the question is, how will employees be able to meet production in an unsafe environment? How will employees be able to meet production requirements if they are exposed to hazards that they are not eliminated or prevented? That point that maybe I'd like to zoom on, it pertains to the emergence of new occupational trends. Traditionally, the thinking was that occupational ill health and diseases, it pertains to something that will contract whilst within the workplace. But now let's take the scenario of the case where now I'm diabetic, but my occupation is to operate an excavator an excavator that needs me to have a good vision, full concentration. So now as organization, where do we draw the line? What is occupational and what is non-occupational? It's easier and quicker to say diabetes, for instance, is a non-occupational illness because you don't contract it from work and the like. But now when we look at the impact on productivity, the impact on the potential incidents that can arise if that condition is not managed at a personal and individual level, it automatically becomes an interest to the employer. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that while we look at shaping out a positive culture, but let's change the outlook of how we view occupational illnesses and diseases to ensure that we actually adopt a holistic approach that does not only focus on issues emanating at the workplace, but any other ill health that one way or the other affect productivity. Because I think the one principle that we want to adopt as an organization is continual improvement. We do not want to put things in place just for the sake of complying, but we want to work in a continually improving manner that will ensure that we have sustainable health and safety systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mashwama. Hello. Thank you, Mr. Mashwama. Now we will take questions.
Thank you. We have legislations in place which are there across the country, but the problem with the reception is that the employees are usually not educated on why they're supposed to do it. You just tell them this is what you have to do as a requirement of the company. I myself, usually I represent the company as much as I advocate for the employer, for the employee. So you should ensure that through trainings, you ensure that they understand why they have to do certain medicals. Like my colleague has mentioned the issue of diabetes, that it is an occupational condition. I mean, hypertension, diabetes, it can be an occupational condition for other employment areas because you are a hazard. Maybe you have to drive. You can just develop a stroke out of nowhere because you didn't do any medicals. You don't have any medical history. You don't know your conditions that you have there. Some of them may be like overlooked and say you live with it. But once it goes up at a certain point, then it becomes a problem in your work environment.
Okay. A question that I will have for the employers, Stelo, on your side. Sometimes workers feel that they cannot report OSH issues to their employers. Sometimes maybe there's a fear of punishment. Or maybe some of the workers, if I have an accident, I'm scared to report it to my employer because then they will be investigated and maybe punished. So what do employers do to encourage employees to report accidents freely? What can employers do? Or what are employers doing at the moment to encourage employees to report all accidents freely without fear of punishment?
Okay, thanks for the question. I think on this one, ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that we need to understand is that occupational health and safety communication, to which reporting falls part of, it's not an isolated item, but it follows the communication culture within the organization. Because practically, I believe it's not only safety-related issues or incidents that need to be reported in an organization. So this comes to leadership. Basically, it comes to leadership because one of the leadership roles in an organization is to determine the communication culture. So if the communication culture within the organization is open, we know that we report incidents not because we want to punish offenders. We report incidents because we actually embrace incidents as opportunities for improvement. Then that culture builds itself out it maps itself out in the organization, and not just on incidents. During my presentation, I mentioned the issue of near misses. On a daily basis, there's a lot of near misses that go unreported. But now, when you look at our occupational health and safety systems, they are a model that is continually improved, but it can only be improved through data and statistics that come from reporting. So if we are unable to report realistically, that actually deprives us the opportunity that we would ordinarily use to improve our occupational health and safety systems. So on that aspect, I think leadership is the one that has the key role of spelling out the tone and the communication culture within the organization so that people are encouraged to report. Secondly, I think the one thing that's discouraging is that if reports are made but no action is taken, then employees tend to stop reporting because now the question is, what difference does it make if I report or not? So when incidents are reported, I think it's still proper to the workers' forums that feedback is sent back where action needs to be taken. We should actually see that action being taken. Yes, realistically, it's impossible to sort all OHS problems in one day, but I think the continuous feedback and communication is actually a key factor in this instance. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Mashoma. Any questions from the floor, ladies and gentlemen? If you can take the first question from my sister over there.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, my question is directed to the SHEC Forum. Yes, okay. I wanted to ask about your activities. Sometimes you find that what I have noticed, there is no uniformity. For example, maybe a certain organization, I understand we have different I can say organization, okay, maybe that person is doing, for example, resource assessment in a certain company, and then the other one will come. So my question is, how do you ensure as a forum that there is a uniformity? Because sometimes you find that maybe that group, when you look at the content, or maybe when you are looking at the activity, it's shallow. So for me, I was saying maybe we need to strengthen that. Then how can you ensure that? Because you find that the companies, when they are sure, we have produced a quality of that service. So the other two questions there from the Minister of Labor. I don't know if I can continue. Okay. Okay, the other one is it's about the institute. I wanted to find out from the Ministry of Labor if did they ever consider to have an institute. Maybe we take a route of South Africa, but we can start slowly, whereby you just collect all the experts together. Because I can see as a gap in the country. You find that most of the things that we need to outsource outside. For example, maybe we need industrial hygienists, so you need to go and look for those services outside, and then they come and charge a lot of money. So my question was, have you considered that? If you have considered, what is the, how far with that? Whereby you also have to do more research, publications, and we will know that we have that institute which will cater for Swaziland. And also the equipment, I can see we are lacking as a country, those equipments. So you find that people from other countries, they come with their own, and then they give the services to different companies, and then they charge a lot of monies. And then the last one is about the safety and health officers. So we can see that the Minister of Labor, the personnel is very thin. So my question is, do you have any enforcement that will force all the ministries or any other workplaces that they should have at least the safety and health officers? Because I can see that is a gap, because the officers in the Ministry of Labor, they cannot go to all places, whereas I can see that one is a gap. So what is it that is being done? Is there any enforcement, or it's a by the way?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think there are 3 questions that have been posed, so maybe if we can answer the 3 questions, then we can take other questions. Maybe the first one directed to the Sheikh Forum. My sister is asking if you do try to harmonize the way practitioners are doing, carrying out any OSH-related issues, or maybe even such issues of publishing guidelines, because she was making an example that when one does a risk assessment in one area and the other is not the same. So maybe do you publish any guidelines for the practitioners that because you've brought in a group of practitioners, do research and publish research findings to improve the OSH implementation in the kingdom? Can you respond on that? Whether you are at that level now.
Okay, thank you for the question. I hope that I will provide the best answer for you. And I'm very thankful that the theme for our coming together today is working together to have the positive outcome in that. And I think to only point the finger at ourselves and say we are the sole institution that will govern that would be a bit unfair to ourselves. That is why we believe that when coming together with the arm from other institutions that can actually ensure that the quality of the work that is being done in the field is of a certain quality that is acceptable or that is aligned to international standards. I believe that our coming together like this in a social dialogue as we are having now is that we need more assistance from the stakeholders to ensure that the standards of whatever work that the people are doing is enforced. So I think the outcome of what we would have today is we need to sit down together more and have barometers and yardsticks on what the quality of the work that has to be delivered by each and every members of the forum is supposed to look like. So I think from here, we need to organize more and discuss more and come up with the strategies on how we can fine-tune to standardize the work that is being done by each and every member.
If we can take more questions. Oh, it's a comment. Okay, we'll take a comment there. And I think last question from my sister there so that we can have the other session. And we will still open for questions, ladies and gentlemen. So you are still not, you still have time to organize a question. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think this is a wonderful dialogue, a wonderful conversation as a country that we actually needed. I'm from the University of Swaziland, of Eswatini, UNESWA. The issue of pre-medical examination, I think we need to educate both the employers and the employees why that is done. It is not done for exclusion. It's done to establish a baseline on health issues for that employee, with an aim of then monitoring to see if the work is actually having a negative impact on the worker. So I think we need to fine-tune that so that we know why such things are a requirement. They are not for excluding anyone from working, but to monitor the progress of any health issues associated with the work. Maybe the other thing is the issue of, I've already said education. So most of the time there's an abuse of that. We should actually make sure that people don't do that. Issues of incidents, they are as a result of management, they are a management issue, inadequate supervision. So we need to go back to the drawing board and sort out those issues that, okay, let me just put an example. Imagine you are, you are a supervisor in sugar cane cutting industry, or any cutting industry for that matter. And then you observe one person not putting, let's say, eye protection. And then you let that go. You're actually teaching the other people not to put PPE, the personal protection equipment. So if you allow that to go unpunished, I actually advised some people, and I said to them, actually a company, I said to them, take off that worker from working that day, the whole day, and let the worker lose his benefit for that day. And someone was saying, oh, that is cruel. It's not cruel. You are preventing further incidents. The next time, that worker will be a very good worker, and he will do what is supposed to do. I appreciate the milestones that the TICOSH is actually doing as a group. There is a wellness policy, it's on the pipeline, it's done. And there is an Osh policy. I heard people talking about policies. The only policies that are done, which are national, there are only 2, and they are yet in the process of being finalized. So whatever companies are doing, which is good, it's fine. Now I'm talking on behalf of ourselves as academia, especially to our, the large stakeholder, the employers. Please allow our students to attach. Don't limit the numbers. We don't want them to be paid. They are paid by their scholarship for internships. Don't put your policies, relax them so that they go out and practice, and from there then they are going to help the industry. We will do risk assessment, and we would love them to practice that. If they practice that, don't think they are going to take the report and publish it. They are not going to do that. We don't allow that to happen. All the bad things they would have noticed, it's a chance for you to correct. It's not meant for, all I'm saying is a plea, allow us to develop the kind of worker that would be useful to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think now I note your hand, but let me give government to respond. Mr. Mdluli, if you can give Mr. Mdluli to respond. There were two questions that were posed to government. One that was related to whether the ministry can having an institute, and also the issue of the labor inspectors. I think that one is a hot topic, and also we know that earlier on the Ministry of Health offered an olive leaf in terms of that, but Makoban.
Thank you very much, Program Director. For the first question, that is talking about having an institution on Osh. I'd like to separate it into two categories. The first category being that it is a positive contribution to this forum, which we must look at. The second one, answering that, on my address, I mentioned that I made a plea to the academia members to look into possibilities of introducing the subject matter at an elementary level in our education system. There is also the technical committee on occupational health and safety in the ministry. It's a tripartite committee. The last speaker is a member of it, if I remember very well. They are also working on a lot of programs in relation to Osh. Osh Profile, Osh laws, you name it, you know. I'm sure when they're done, this will be addressed. Coming to the second question, the issue of personnel being thin. At one stage, we considered partnering with municipalities in the country and give them the full mandate to do inspection, prosecute, and all the stuff. I don't know where it went, but I'll have to check or probably revive it so that it can work, because it can work well. You know, in many countries, municipalities, they play a bigger role in policing, whatever, inspection and all the stuff, you know. I think I must thank the person who asked this question. It's a reminder that we must pursue this matter and come up with a concrete solution. I thank you.
Thank you very much, government. Doctor, your last question, is it related to the panel? Oh, okay, it's a comment. Okay, let's quickly make the comment so that we can have our next panelist.
Thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity. I have a comment. My comment is basically to say, for me, I feel like actually this rapid assessment that Minister was referring to, that was conducted by UNESCO in partnership with the ministry supported by ILO, what we found there was that in most of the workspaces or the establishments out there, there are no people that have a training in occupational health and safety. And for me, that's the main gap. What we found there was that you find that you have an HR officer that is taken for a workshop to go and do occupational health. But if we are in a position whereby establishments are employing OSH-trained persons, then I feel like a lot of the concerns that we have are going to be solved. And also, to mention that being part of TICOSH, we have operational committees that are working towards addressing also a lot of what the first speaker questioned. And then the last that I would want to say is that probably we may be wondering where we will find these OSH-trained persons. The university is one place that's training people that have a measure in occupational health and safety. And I know that Good Shepherd also trains such at a diploma level. So for me, I feel like to solve a lot of these things, even to deal with the misperceptions of people not wanting to take medicals when they're employed, all of those will be solved when on the ground we do have people that are trained in OSH. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Next, we will go to our last two panelists, where we have Mr. Mduduzi Gina on behalf of workers, and also we have Mageletsiwe Seyama, who's representing academia from Good Shepherd. Mr. Gina has already made previous remarks, so I hope his remarks now will be also straight to the point. Over to you, Mr. Gina.
Okay, thank you very much, Program Director. I think we should not, as stakeholders, kill ourselves. Our observation is that perhaps injuries, vital injuries, or even injuries generally, they've drastically reduced at the workplaces. And obviously, the posture that we should take is that let us kind of improve on that kind of an arrangement, where we think perhaps then it would require the attention of stakeholders is how we can kind of make the Occupational Health and Safety Act and to talk to each other with the Workmen's Compensation Act. And in fact, our proposal was then that we may have to create a health and safety fund instead of paying the workmen's compensation through the insurances. Because in fact, if we were to have a health and safety fund, then it can be that fund that will be responsible for the trainings to some extent. It can be responsible for the inspections, and it can be responsible for the return to work programs in the event an employee may have got injured. Yes, there is one other item which we think also it would require some kind of an attention. The issue of the classification of illnesses as occupational health diseases. Like we were faced with a COVID, And it is listed in our legislation, those of the diseases that should be classified as occupational diseases. We need to have some kind of an opening to recognize that there will be such, and then perhaps begin to have a program that will say how we have to prove that it was in fact an occupational disease. Because if I happen to conduct COVID whilst at the workplace, then it would be very difficult for me to prove that in fact I never conducted the COVID at the bus station, or I never conducted the service in church yesterday on a Sunday. So then it becomes a problem. The aspect of medical examination at entry point or at exit point, it needs to be a discussion. There should be a discussion around. I was following the academia alleging, in fact, kind of claiming that it is designed to create a database. That was very chosen words. A database for the company to see. Yes, maybe we have to take it further. But for now, the issue would be to say it must be also carried out at the exit point. We have noted that, in fact, these medical examinations are carried out at entry, but at the exit point, they are most often ignored. Lastly, we believe this issue can be carried out by players working together. And the aspect of those players at the workplace working together, it would require training of these workers. And training of these workers would require them to be trained by their own peers. The workers would not accept it to be a gospel truth, any direction that will be given by those at the managerial level. Because their belief will be that, in fact, they do want to benefit something. The management will benefit. But no, at the end. Because workers will be even skeptical to disclose issues of health to management. Because some of them, the workers were saying to me at some point, in fact, if we disclose some of these health issues, would be in the first line when the company carries out a retrenchment process. So those kinds of engagement, they would require serious trust between the players at the workplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kina. Then we can take Netsiwe, if you can give us your presentation. Then we can take questions from the floor for the two panelists.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, representative from the different departments of our government. All protocols observed. My name is Letsiwe Seyama, Ngingmage Masego, working for the Gochepat Catholic College of Health Sciences. Maybe I forward my brief. I would also like to draw your attention to where our college is and briefly just give you a background of the college and what we do at the college. Why? Because we have observed that some of us or people out there, at this point, they still don't know who Gochepat is and where it is located. So Gochepat Catholic College of Health Sciences is a Roman Catholic organization of higher learning situated within the Gochepat Mission Hospital, and it is, of course, in the Lubombo region. It was established in 1972, where only nursing assistants were trained. It further grew and offered the Diploma in General Nursing program, which was then followed by the Post-Diploma Certificate in Midwifery Science, which was introduced in 2017. And in 2018, there was a diploma in occupational safety and health program that was introduced. This program was introduced in 2018 with partnership with one college in Botswana, which is Botekanelo College. So, of course, the main goal of the program is to prevent occupational injuries, disabilities, diseases, and fatalities at the workplace or during workplaces processes, and as well as to prevent suffering and financial hardship from these organizations should these events occur. And also remember that when looking at an employee, we're not just looking at a unit figure. Of course, families, communities are also involved. The program has its aims, which mainly is to enforce compliance to safety and health legislation and regulations at the workplace, which of course it's an enforcement that will go in collaboration with what at national office is happening. Hence, today we are saying, let us act together, build a positive safety and health culture. Of course, since the program has been implemented or established, since inception, we have had one group or a cohort that has graduated. We have our first group to graduate in the program. The graduation was held this year in 2022. And we do have other strengths of the program that we've identified, as well as challenges. Some of the challenges, I think one colleague from the academia has also alluded to those challenges. Yeah, but yeah, it is a program that is ongoing. When we now coming back to the theme to say, let us work together to promote or to build a positive safety and health culture. One may also want to maybe wonder to say, why acting together? Why building up? So when you think of building, like when you have to build a house, I think we'll all attest to the fact that there are so many things that are involved, and above all, finances are involved. One of my colleagues mentioned rightfully and said, there is just no organization. However, all the processes, all the interventions that we have to have in place or put in place need finances always. My colleague on my left has just said, maybe we need to have some kind of funding in the organizations or maybe in the institutions or workplaces where workers will be trained. So maybe if we can just agree to say, Maslow's hierarchy of needs states it clearly and requires us to say safety and health or safety and security is one of the essential needs that a human being should have. So while we appreciate these theorists, Maslow hierarchy, it is important that when you say safety and security, it's safety in all domains, in all environment, including the occupational setting or workspaces that we find our workers in, where we are now saying the workers should be very safe. As trying to support or embrace Maslow hierarchy of needs. So our workers really need to be safe. And moreover, our act, we should make sure that the work environment is very safe. And it should be a safe working place for all workers, communities, contractors, and even the family members. So it's very, very important because we really want to prevent those occupational diseases, and we still want to prevent, or also want to prevent, occupational related diseases. Lamanya akona, they are aggravated by the work process at the workplace, but some of them, the worker, uba now, like one mentioned that a worker should have diabetes mellitus, and you may find that before that worker started employment, that diabetes mellitus was controlled. However, due to exposure to risks at the workplaces, during the processes, you find that Leo diabetes is aggravated. Hence, we say we should ensure that that workplace is very safe. And now we are saying we want to act together to promote or to build a positive safety culture. Can I just take you back to one model that I know that talks of safety culture? It's by Kiel. Kiel states 5 stages of occupation of safety culture. It's a model. They're talking about 5 stages. We have 5 levels. A level yekuqala, it's when one worker, when a workplace is still at an imaging stage or imaging level. So what we've identified, especially as an academic institution, most workplaces are at that level. Mostly because some reasons could be related to the fact that the safety culture amongst people that is at individual level, so I think it's something that we need to work together as probably our leading ministry, which is the Ministry of Labor here, and Ministry of Health, because they work together. It's about safety, it's about health, to work together and see how best we can sensitize eMaswati to make sure that at least people have an understanding of what safety is. Maybe I can just share with you colleagues, could see even at our college, when this program was established, even some of the colleagues, nursing lecturers and other colleagues were like, yeah, safety. And then we really had to try to sensitize and create awareness within the organization so that at least safety is accepted among different levels of management. So now, when we get into the workplace, when we're diving into the workplace, the reason why maybe most of the industries are still at the emerging level is because people lack an understanding of what safety is. When I'm more, they could even wonder, and it's very, very important. So when we think of the level 1 of the safety culture maturity model that is emerging, where most workplaces are, because some of them, like my colleague from Eswatini, mentioned or alluded to the fact that when our students, we seek attachment for our students, you are not even allowed to gain entry into those premises, because some would even say, high-level management, CEO, we don't need that in this workplace. How then do you expect compliance if a high-profile person in the organization at CEO level, we don't need that program in that workplace? Since I think maybe we need our government to do something about that to ensure that the program is supported at national level as well as local or industry level. So we're at the emerging stage. So following that emerging stage, you may find that some organizations or industries are at the managing level, where now they are accepting that there is safety, but safety is not ours. They always think it's an issue for the safety officer and most probably the human resource office. And then you move on to another level where now there is what we call level 3, where most industries are at involving level, where now they feel it's our issue. Let us act together. Let us own the safety program. Let us own every activity that comes with the program. Hence, we have some companies. A few of them, I think my colleague mentioned that. Some of them, they are at that level. But our observation, again, is that they are at that level, yet maybe they are not exactly there, because some of them have probably now identified or decided to do a shortcut to say, let us do this to make sure let us make sure that we try to maybe take in or rope in the standards, and then we.
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, just for cutting it short. We'll continue with the presentation, my sister. It's just that now we are about to cut off the live feed on Swazi TV. So to all those who have joined us through Swazi TV, we thank you for being with us. Today's event highlights the power of the tripartite structure, that is employers, government, workers, academia, and all stakeholders that are involved in Osh. When we come together, we can act together to build a positive health and safety culture. So ladies and gentlemen, from today, I hope hope that from the presentations that have been done and the discussions from the panel, we are now having more insight into the importance of occupational health and safety in the workplace. So we thank our viewers at home, Eswatini TV, who've been joining us, and we will continue with the broadcast on YouTube. So those who are joining us on YouTube and other platforms will continue with the presentation going forward. Thank you to our viewers at home. Now we'll be going over to the news. Okay, so we can continue this side.
Thank you, Program Director. Okay, I was at the level 3, which is involvement, when now we are saying, if we want our programs at the workplace to be effective programs, workers' involvement is very, very important at all levels. From the individual worker, I think we have talked about that so many times. And then we move on after involvement. If that organization is at involvement level, then it's probably we strive to move on to the next level, which is the cooperating level, where now everyone at the workplace has full ownership, and even at family level, issues of safety are not only confined to the workspaces, but they take safety into their families. Hence, we are saying at this level that at the involvement level. And lastly, the last level is the continual improvement. Of course, we do understand that we do have an evolution around us, and there's also industrialization, and our processes, they change time and again at the workplace. So now we are saying workers should now always strive for continual improvement. Where now we're saying issues of training and education training should come into place, and a lot of other other activities that could be implemented to make sure that these industries always make sure that they strive for continual improvement. So now as an academic or as academic institutions, we are training safety professionals or safety practitioners that will assist workplaces or industries to ensure that they assist these industries to move on or to improve from the below level to the high level, so that at least worker safety is taken into consideration. And also remember, our main goal is to prevent fatalities as well as disabilities. So now when we're saying we're training safety practitioners, we're training practitioners that will be sensitive, that will ensure that there's compliance at the workplace. So now as an academic institution, maybe I can also share our feelings as we have established the program, or since we started running the program. And like I mentioned earlier, that we had successes and we have challenges. And from the challenges, we're taking those challenges as stepping stones, and also to say we are not working as a silo, as Kuchepat, but we are working in partnership with other partners and stakeholders. So now, as a partner to safety and health implementation in the country, we may request that, like my colleague has said earlier, we may just allow or maybe have government support to allow us to attach our students effectively at the workplaces. Because we are not getting a positive feedback, and you find that some of these students, they struggle to get attachment. And of course, the reasons why is because they don't have, there is no program that is in place in that organization, or if it's there, it's not fully established. However, allowing the student to attach will assist the industries to move from, from say maybe the imaging level to the managing level, because now they will work together with the structures that are available within the industries to make sure that they assist this industry to move to another level with the expertise that they have, just in case there is no an expert in that industry. And another request that we want to forward is that I like the fact that one of the colleagues did comment to say there was once something called occupational hygiene. We were, as a Good Party, we were envisaging that we could even provide occupational hygiene at a practical level. However, our challenge was that when you have to provide this training, this group that has graduated is able to, but subsequent groups will have a challenge because the equipment that is required is very expensive. So for Kuchepa to procure the equipment for occupational hygiene so that at least we have occupational hygienists in the country, maybe at an introduction level, we need to have those equipments. However, it needs more money, and there's no money in our country because we may also have to increase the tuition fee for the students, which when we were having discussions with the relevant ministry, it was not possible. But we do need that as a country to have our occupational hygienist. And also we do have a plea to say, may we have the labor market absorb our graduates. Of course, our request is to the minister, the relevant minister, the Ministry of Labor, because that's where our government recruitment processes begin. So now when you say our graduates, we mean our creating of Emma posts for these occupational safety and health practitioners. So from maybe from Good Shepherd, because our graduates are at diploma level or the diploma holders, we have experienced industries which we really appreciate that have, after our students have completed their attachment, they have extended the contracts with our students. They've hired them. Some of them that are working there permanently. We appreciate that. We do still plea with the government to create posts for our practitioners to be hired in the public sector. And also, we've also observed as the training institution of academia that we lack a system in the country or in the Ministry of Labor where our students or even anyone else in the country would access information with regards to statistics on OSH. Whenever you call the ministry, you require some statistics, you'll be running from pillar to post, call so-and-so, who's the campus card. So may you request that we have a very good system that will allow anyone at his comfort of his home space to access information with regards to OSH reports in the country. Of course, observing confidentiality that could come on other health law ethics that could come up with the reporting, but basic information could be freely shared to anyone to access in their public spaces. And lastly, it's just to request that we have our country may have or establish an organization, a regulatory body, where now occupational safety and health practice would be regulated, so that at least the harmonization that came from one of the colleagues could be established or could be achieved. Because now we do have so many things that's happening around now that, occupational safety and health is kind of being recognized by some of these institutions. So you find that Banseba shortcuts and then they'll think or claim that they are safety practitioners. So then if this profession was regulated, that misconduct could be kept. Having said that, ngicela ukubonga kakhulu for this opportunity, and also on behalf of the college, I would even appreciate the Ministry of Labor, because we are getting funding. Our program is successful because our Ministry of Labor is funding our students. The scholarship and scholarship department is funding our students for this program, yet it's a new program. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Letsiwe. Now our two panelists, we have our two panelists on behalf of the workers, and Mr. Mduduzikina, and also we have got on behalf of academia, we have got Letsiwe. I will ask the first question. My first question will go to Mr. Kina. Mr. Kina, issues of occupational health and safety, you have rightly stated that they are very high on the agenda for employees, that is workers. I would like to find out if in terms when you negotiate collective bargaining agreements, do issues of occupational health and safety go into those agreements so that maybe they can also be prioritized during negotiations? Or most of the time the collective agreements will look mainly on the terms and conditions? But maybe if we are not at the moment, maybe that's another caveat we can try and also strengthen. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you very much. In fact, issues of health and safety, they are included in our various collective agreements. It can be a question of maybe improving the aspects and on how some of them, the aspects of the health and safety issues are included in the collective agreement. But generally, the collective agreement would include the issues of health and safety. I will make an example. You will find that there will be in a collective agreement an agreement on the provision of personal protective clothing and the frequency of that kind of provision and how it will be replaced and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Okay, no, that is well noted. As you mentioned, maybe you could look at making sure that it is covered holistically, not just a part of OSH, because, so thank you for that. And then my question to the academia. We note that you are saying you're requesting employers to absorb the students in terms of internships. Have you approached the employer organizations like Business Eswatini or other formations in Swaziland to try and persuade them to persuade their membership? And also in terms of when you are, the new program that you are you are doing at Good Shepherd, have you also looked at partnering with local institutions which are offering similar programs so that maybe you can standardize your programs on OSH in the kingdom, having like the similar curriculum? Because I know there are other institutions who are offering OSH programs in the country. Have you looked into that? Because I know you've mentioned that you partnered with Canelo College in Botswana. We did used to receive some years before COVID. They used to come about 30 students from Botswana to do internships here in Eswatini. So you have partnered with external organizations, but what collaboration is there in the OSH academic space in the kingdom?
Thank you very much, Proms Director, for the comments. Yes, we have tried to establish some partnership with local institutions, like with Business Eswatini. I will mention that before we even went out there to scout for or to solicit workplaces for our student attachment for the first group, because this is our second group, we did visit their offices, and the response that we got then, we were advised that they won't have control over like enforcing or compelling workplaces to absorb our students. However, they can only assist us with the directive which was issued to us with the list of companies, their locations, and the type of industry that they are into, so that we do that on ourselves. Yes.
Okay, or then on the collaboration between local institutions?
The collaboration with other institutions, that one is a very tricky one, mostly because I think we will attest to the fact that we are all doing our best in our little corners, and as such, you would only, as an institution, be like for us, we are partnering with an international organization. We'll only be doing what we think the local market needs as far as occupational safety and health is concerned. Of course, it's a Botswana-based organization or college. However, we didn't just take the partnership as raw as it is, but we were to contextualize it to what is happening in Eswatini. Of course, but now we are engaging with one of the main institutions of in the country, which is University of Eswatini, where we're trying to establish in a partnership how best we can run the program together. It's in the pipeline. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on the floor, you may pose your questions. I think I've been seeing 2 hands. Where are the other hands, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, I will start with new hands who have not commented before, but I will attend to you all. Let's have the first brother over there, the first question over there. Then you will be second.
Thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity. Actually, mine is just a comment. Maybe before I pass it on, I'll just appreciate the wonderful presentations that we have received. Mine is to, on top of what they have said, is to further advocate for the absorption of our student into the industry, because that's where they get to put what they have learned in class into practice. So without that opportunity, I think it would not be possible for them to completely comprehend what they do learn in their different schools. The other one is to request the government to maybe at least try to come up with sort of a system to harmonize or to make sure that whatever that is being taught within the different institutions as we work in silos, at the end of the day, it results into one product which we would love to have in our country. Like, for example, in South Africa, there is SACA, which is Southern Africa Qualification Authority, which is there to ensure that whatever program that is brought forward is a product that is similar across. And it also serves a lot in terms of ensuring quality. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. I do hope that you mentioned, Sako, we do have an organization in Swaziland, the Eswatini Higher Education Council. So I think that's also an area where they should be looking into making sure that the units that are taught in the different institutions are harmonized. And then I'll have my sister over there, her question. And then I'll have my brother over there. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Ngiyabonga Program Director. Ligaba lami ngintombi yengosi wakadlamini ngilaphalamende ngilabotela nje. This is going to be more general. Kodwa ngidawucela ukukhuluma Isiswati bongosi. Ngifuna lokwathi nje ukuthi angithi sithi before besibuka ama-hazards endzaweni yemsebenzi. Sathi ukuthi kufuna ubuke ukuthi iminyango ikhona yonke kusicima akunenzathu. Kwecima emlilo kukhona ubuke ukuthi ama-wet floors konke lokho abantu bafundziswe within the workplace. Siyabonga ke ukuthi sekuhambe kwachamuka kanti nabo occupational safety and health. Ngithanze le scenario le create ngithuba asikhombisa umuntu lo ngena phansi uyale phansi kanti kude la kubekile ukuthi ativikele. Ngibuta ke mina ukuthi lo muntu lona mhlambe ufundisiwe uyadi naloko ukuthi mangenda indvu umsebenzi lo nje kufuna ngente nje asesibuyele nasemakhaya umentionile ngathi ngilami ngibani make utsitema seyama ushito lokunye kucala emakhaya siyabafundzisa labasita sifake ama-gloves phela mangabonakekela makwami yenda ukuthi angconote ukuthi angifuni ukukwenda lokho and uyenda njani nge-situation enjalo lapho ukhanza athi lo muntu akafuni kulandzela lo Osh system lo place le lapho ekhaya wena ukwenda njani lokho ngoba vele sikubonile esikhathini letiningi uyamtshela umuntu hana wena kunene kumandi lambona uyashelela uyagena ukubheka etulo uwenda njani ngoba asiyibuke all round nokuthi asifundzise lapha sifundzise nale sive nje sati ngoba njengamanje nje ungathi sifundisa only lema 2000 abantu abethe sebafundzile bonke kanti kunebantu labadzala labatawucala lemsebenzi kufuna siyibone le ba-investor resilience ye-Osh system within their work areas. Ngiloko nje lengingakushiya angete nganza kuloko. Thank you.
Thank you, Mage. I will also, can you take the question from my brother? I think Ubatsatebo Bang too. Is it a question or a comment?
It's a comment.
Okay.
Yes.
A question or comment? It's a question. Okay, we'll take the comment and the question, so we'll have two questions to answer.
Thank you, moderator. I'm from government. Thank you for the wonderful presentation from our last two, from all the panelists that have presented before us here. Mine is just a comment, but I'm sure it will trigger some debate from the House here. Mine it's simple. I just want to know whether the policies that companies do have, which actually provides for incentives if there has been no accident reported in that particular year, will you then say it's a good policy or not? You know why? The reason why I'm asking this, making this comment, is because some employees tend to conceal an accident that has occurred, so that they will prevent, a situation where they will then lose the incentive that has been put forward by top management. Because you will find that now the workers on the floor shop are colluding with meekly managers, so as to conceal some of these accident, so that they will then ensure that now the top management will not now come to realize that now there has been accident, so as to ensure that now they will get the incentive that has been put forward. So my question, or it's a question or comment, is it a good policy that now companies can come up with such policies? Thank you.
That is noted. I will ask Mr. Mashwama to respond on that. So that is when we have incentives for zero accidents, and sometimes they can create, but I'll ask him to respond when it's time. Can we take your next question so that we can give our panelists a chance to respond?
Yes, it's a question to Mr. Gina from his presentation. He said that workers would accept information from other workers. Yes, in the issue of, I think he was talking about education and training on Osh. My question is then, what strategy can be used to capacitate those workers who tell the others?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think I will let our panelists respond. Mr. Gina, you have a question?
Okay, thank you very much. Mine, that was directly directed to me. It was on the issue that I have raised on the training of trainers. In fact, I was saying perhaps it may be important that in our various workplaces we establish a we train trainers, a pool of workers that will be identified for purposes of training the others. I mean, in a nutshell, that is what I was saying. Maybe the aspect of how we're going to deal with then the strategies, what strategy can be employed. I'm not sure whether that strategy would have to talk about the identification process for that pool. Otherwise, that is what I was opening to say, if we were to have a pool of trainers that will be amongst the workers themselves to train the workers.
But maybe just as a follow-through, Mr. Kina, to that, currently, maybe within the worker formations, do you have a program that is aimed at engaging the employees on making sure that they are safe behaviors at the workplaces that will encourage workers to adhere to the health and safety practices that have been established by the companies? Because I think it was one, my sister there, when she was asking a question, that sometimes workers refuse to accept to follow certain systems. So maybe do you also try to have engagements that will make the employees understand why safety is there, why it's important that they follow the systems that have been put in place? Or it's something, if not on the pipeline, you might look into the future, have outreach programs related to Osh in the different facilities?
In fact, we do have running programs, specifically within our organization, that deals with issues of occupational health and safety at the workplace. And we are running trainings and workshops on the same issue. And we know that, in fact, if one deliberately disregard health and safety issues at the workplace, that individual is exposing him or herself to a disciplinary hearing. And we know it is a fact that we are telling everyone, specifically within our constituents.
Okay, thank you. We will have Mr. Mashoma responding on my brother over there saying that some companies have a policy of incentivizing no accidents, and then that might lead into other employees colluding to not report those accidents, because now we lose this incentive, that's carrot that's dangling. So you can respond, Mr. Mashoma.
Okay, thank you, Prime Director, once again. I think on this one, I will not respond directly to say that such a policy, is it a good policy or a bad policy, but what I'll try to anchor on is the why. Why do we need to report incidents? And on the theme that we are having today, if we're looking at building a sustainable culture on reducing occupational incidents and ill health, then we need to be critical about the why behind reporting of incidents. I think building a sustainable culture involves workers from all levels within an organization understanding the why. Why do you need to report incidents? Earlier on in my discussion, I did highlight the key role of generating data and statistics, which then inform continual improvement plans that we put in place. So much as it is a norm for most organizations that we reward certain milestones. For instance, there are organizations that rewards 0 injuries if we have 0 injuries within such a period of time, and then there is an incentive on that. But whilst we want to motivate our employees to report and to take proactive action as far as incident prevention is concerned, but let's also remember the issue of precedence, that the moment you remove that incentive, what happens? Will the culture be sustainable? So whilst we want to incorporate that, I think my indirect response would be that we, as organization, we need to be critical that we create a culture that is sustainable. Remember that when we define culture, we say that culture is what you do when no one is watching, which means that without even an incentive, culture is what you will continue doing at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mashoma. I think I have the last question from my, I've got, I have a comment, okay, 2 comments, and it's a comment. Okay, so 3 comments, and then we will conclude our session, ladies and gentlemen. So after these 3 comments, we'll conclude our session.
Okay. It's something I was talking about if they are covered fully in negotiations. The legislation fully covers that. It is in the legislation. They have to nominate she-reps also. And then there are safety incentives in companies. And then the companies also has to buy PPE and provide them for their employees. But you find that because it's an expense to other companies, then they tend not to do this. And then also the medicals. The company, the employer is supposed to provide that for their employees. But they tend, because you are desperate for a job, you end up doing it yourself, yet the company has to do that. Also, buying of PPE for the employees, you find that companies, they don't comply, they don't do that. Because you are desperate for that job, you have to buy it for yourself, especially the smaller companies contracting to bigger companies. It is a requirement for the bigger companies, but because they want these things, the employees end up buying it for themselves. You also said, why report? Why do we report? I heard Mashama saying that, why should we report? We should report such incidences because they tend to come out. In Oak Health, we say you keep records for as long as up to 40 years. So when something happens to you, maybe 20 years later, you can come back and say, I was employed by this company and I got an injury, and I have an occupational condition that I got at the job. So you are able to go back to that company and they will do whatever that needs to be done medically for you because you are working there. But if you never report it, then you come back maybe 20 or 10 years later and say it is an occupational condition. They can't help you because you never reported that. Even a minor incident like spraining of your knee while at work, you have to report that because maybe a year later you start complaining about your knee having pains and all, yet you didn't report it. You can't then come back and say it's an occupational condition.
Thank you for the comment. Next, Mr. Tube, Liberty, your comment.
Thank you for the brilliant presentations that you've had to my colleagues. I would like to probably start off with the issue on reporting incidents. What we normally encourage is the reporting of near misses, the accident or the incident that did not happen, because that is what we can then incentivize for the people to actually report the near miss. Because incentivizing the other issues could create an unsustainable situation. So the policy that organizations can have is to say the more near misses that we report is what we will incentivize so that we can then do investigations to avoid any occurrence of a serious incident that can take place because of this near miss that took place in the organization. And then the other thing is the training that we've been talking about. The training is in threefold. The training is with the management, the people who are the owners of the companies and everything. They need to be trained to accept the culture of safety, and then this will trickle down to their employees. So, and then this should be bottom up and also bottom to top, because if this comes in with, we've taken an intern from Good Shepherd, and then the brilliant young person comes up with these policies, and the management feels this person is just coming with these things to us because they think this person is trying to impose this on them. So the managers need to be trained themselves. And then the other training is with the safety personnel, the practitioners who have entry qualifications to universities and other places. These, I think it's fine. They are getting the education from the universities, but on the field, the actual workers who have no entry qualifications for them to go into these institutions, and they are the ones who are the front line, and they are the ones who are doing the work. They are the ones who are at the risk. They also need a lot of training. So in the Act, the clause 14, it puts, I think to answer what one question it said, clause 14 stipulates the nomination of these people within the departments of the organizations that will then be trained and then will then take this to their peers in the departments that they have. So the Act on its own does have this, and I believe the training that should be there also is awareness also on the Osh Act, because most of the organizations, they are not aware of their responsibility, and this then trickles down to the lack of observing this safety in the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. We'll take the last comment from my sister over there, then we can wrap up today's session.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, on my part is on the part of academia. So I felt that the ministry was talking about maybe they need to train more people from Italy. So for me, I think we are missing something, because you may find that, okay, my suggestion is maybe the ministry has to touch bases on the universities and the colleges on the content what they have, because you may find that they are looking for Italy, and then they find that, whereas you may find that what is in the country is better than maybe what they are thinking. So I think for me, maybe the universities and the colleges, they need to sit down with the ministry, and then they just look at the content. On the other note, I can also say maybe even with the university, maybe they shouldn't do the competition, but they need to work together now and then try to align their causes, so that whatever they are lobbying what is the same, so that they should avoid that, oh, that one is lower than us. So I think also that one can help. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment, my sister. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you have had the time to also ask questions and clarifications from our panelists. I'll also want to thank our wonderful panelists. If you can give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you to Nolwazi, Liberty, Stelo, Letiwe, and Duduzi, Ms. Akina. Ladies and gentlemen, you can step off the podium. Thank you for your time and your insights. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a wonderful half day today. Thank you to our presenters and our wonderful panelists for taking their time and coming and preparing for the discussions that we've just had on World Day for Safety and Health 2022 with the theme Act Together to Build a Positive Safety and Health Culture. The aim of today, we aim to explore the topic of participation and social dialogue in creating a positive safety and health culture. I hope that through today's event, your knowledge has been expanded And also today's event highlighted the power of the tripartite structure of showing that government, together with the workers, together with employers, together with academia and other stakeholders, can collaborate together in improving the spirit of collaboration on issues of OSH. We know that ensuring a positive health and safety culture is a moral and practical necessity, because we cannot place a lower value on the lives of our workers. We must always make sure that our workplaces are safe for them. Ladies and gentlemen, also I think for the ministry there have been some take-homes that they've taken from this session, where we noted that there is an outcry in terms of visits to workplace, and we've also had an olive leaf being extended by another ministry, the Ministry of Health. And also we see that there has to be the strengthening of collaboration between the various ministries, because look, now we have seen such wonderful collaboration through this event today. And also for they've been take home for the employers and also from the employee federations. So, and also from the academia, they were able to also put through their points. It's been a wonderful day. I will ask from if there is someone from the ministry who will give us closing remarks before we pray and finalize our festivities. Okay, I just have an announcement, ladies and gentlemen. If there is anyone who has lost their keys, the keys are for a Toyota. If you have lost the keys, please approach the reception. They have found keys for a Toyota. So if it's anyone from here, please do check. In the absence of anyone who will make closing remarks from the ministry, ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful being with you and being your MC, and you've also been wonderful. The participants who are here with us physically and those who've joined us virtually. We've come to the end of our program, ladies and gentlemen, on World Safety and Health Day 2022 with the theme Act Together to Build a Positive Health and Safety Culture. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time, and give yourself a good round of applause. I will then ask Margaret Tutunzinisa, if she's still with us, to come and close for us with the word of prayer. We did open with the word of prayer, ladies and gentlemen. Margaret Tutusekona. Nangabaraseko lo holwang moya nje bazalwane amane athi lothu asivalele ngemthandazo.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity you have given us, oh God, in this place. We thank you for the presentations. They were so wonderful. And, oh God, we believe that they're going to change the way we do things even in our workplaces. Help us, Lord, to continually instill the knowledge that we have attained in this place into the masses in the country for the better of this country, oh God, in the name of Jesus Christ. As we depart to our various places, oh God, we pray and we request for your interventions in our path and in our workplaces. Let your grace and peace dwell with us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been wonderful. And I've been asked by the peers to extend an invitation for lunch. You are invited for lunch, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Rest of your day.